I'll edit this afterwards. Please see if anybody came on yet.
It's interesting how you find these streams, because I'm on your profile now and I don't see it as a post yet. So
it should be up there saying live now.
Yeah, I'm looking at all the activity. I don't, but again, it's a little mysterious. LinkedIn Live.
All right.
Do you see it, or maybe I'm?
Huh?
Do you see it on your page?
I closed my phone, so but I can. Let me go on LinkedIn on my here. Let me go here and just see what I see. Why do I not? I'm not seeing it either. Let me go up to my event.
Oh, is that where it shows up?
It should show up on my feed, but I'm going to go
right.
up. Somebody said they're backstage. Wait.
Oh, there's someone here, Barbara. So.
Okay, but I had given her a link ahead of time.
Oh, I see.
So let me just go up to my and for some reason the event isn't even showing here. This is really glitchy.
Maybe I should be glad I don't have LinkedIn Live.
This is not mine. Let me just type this. As it came up earlier today, I got a note about it. Just see something else. And all these people told me they were coming, and now they probably can't get on. I don't know what's going on.
Do you want to stop and maybe try to start it again?
All right. We can try that.
And then maybe we'll.
Somebody told me that she was on. I see somebody else said that she can see us. All right, there are some people coming on now, so.
Great.
All right, we are actually live, so.
Awesome.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to Renewal at 50 Plus. This is a monthly show to help you live your best life and have your best career at 50 plus. And I see that some of you have commented in the chat. If you haven't yet, please introduce yourself so I can see who's here, and welcome to everybody. Before I introduce today's special guest, I want to just share a few thoughts with you. And I'm so excited, one, to have Evan Kirstel as my special guest, and two, to be talking about a topic that's near and dear to me, which is how to boost your career as an older professional. My name is Wendy Marks, for anyone who doesn't know me. I'm your host today. I'm a personal branding and marketing coach for people who want to be more successful in their careers as experienced professionals. I'm also 50 plus myself, and I'm a proud career reinventor, and I'm now on my at least fifth pivot. Let me just share a few thoughts before I introduce today's special guest. One is that we're working longer and living longer. The average life expectancy today on average is 79, and it's actually 85 for women. What this means is that this myth that we've all been fed about our golden years and heading into the sunset, into retirement, is just that. It's a myth. Because most people don't have enough money to live the 20 or so extra years that are available. Also, working at any age gives you a vital sense of purpose, identity, and done right can be extremely pleasurable. The other thing as you get older is that it gives you a chance to reflect on some areas of your life you might have missed out on that you now want to focus on. Those are just a few thoughts, and I know we'll touch on some of these in greater depth. I now want to introduce Evan Kirstel, and I am just thrilled to have Evan today as my special guest. He is an absolute phenomenon. He has over 500 followers on social media and is a tech influencer, helps major companies like AT&T and Qualcomm with their social media. Before reinventing himself as the colossus that he is today, he was a mighty traveler in the corporate world as an enterprise salesperson and biz development and alliance executive. Evan is also the co-owner or co-founder of a health tech, a company that provides services to the health tech community called 𝐁𝐓 𝐓𝐡𝐮𝐫. It's my great, great pleasure to welcome you, Evan. So thank you so much. And I thought we'd begin because you have been an amazing reinventor. And I'd love for you to share with the audience today how you have done that, gone from the corporate world to what you're doing now.
Oh, well, thanks so much, Wendy, for having me here. And I hit 50 last year, so I'm delighted I finally meet the criteria to be on your show. But no, it's all seriousness. We've interacted on Twitter for years, and I appreciate all the great content you put out. And really, that's what social media is best for: is building these virtual friendships and connections that can over time really turn into meaningful opportunities, whether it's personally, professionally, or otherwise. So yeah, that's what I'm really passionate about is social media for good. There's a lot of talk about the downsides of social media, but not enough talk about the good sides, the community building, the sense of connection, the sense of engagement that you get within a community that you build. And you know all about that with your show and other activities. So thanks for having me.
Evan, maybe you could talk a little bit about how you went from the corporate world to what you do today.
Yeah, so I graduated as an engineer and basically spent 30 years almost in the technology world, working for small companies, big companies, climbing up the ladder, getting laid off. It feels like a board game now, I look back on it. But after 2.5 decades, I realized it was a bit of a rat race, and I was the rat navigating through this maze. And I had a bit of dissatisfaction with corporate life after a couple of layoffs and successes, but also the politicking and the constant work overload that exists in corporate America that everyone listening probably will recognize to some degree. And I started what we call now a side hustle. This wasn't even really a term when I started, but helping clients on the side while I was working at a big tech company for fun and for profit, and for making a few extra bucks with a family at the time. And that grew into a point where I could break free of the corporate world and start my own practice, helping clients some of whom I'd worked for, engage and grow in this new digital social world. So I really haven't looked back. And now I'm really encouraging folks like you who are listening to strike out in their own way with their own set of skills and create independence and opportunity for themselves. So it's been a really interesting ride, lots of hard work, lots of ups and downs, and but I wouldn't ever go back to corporate life. I don't think I could, frankly, stomach it these days.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. I'm a refugee from not as long as you, though.
I love it. I love the term refugee or nomad. We move from corporation to corporation, or some of us maybe have worked for the same company for 20 or 30 or more years. And, many of us become disillusioned or disenfranchised in some way. And now, with the world in which we live online and with this digital platform we all have access to, is the time to kind of take ownership of our future, of our destiny, and our independence. And so that's what's been the best aspect about it for me.
Yes, I love that about being so proactive in terms of your own career. Evan, what have you found has really stood you in good stead as you've developed this thriving business of yourself? Are there certain skills, a mindset that you had to develop to succeed?
Well, for me, I think it was mostly about relationships. And, many of us over 50 are actually pretty good at managing or nurturing relationships. We lived in a world before the internet, before mobile and smartphones and social media, where life was about relationships. Your old Rolodex, literally, that thing that used to sit on your desk and turn around like a hamster wheel that had names in it, that kind of thing. And so we grew up in a world that we're comfortable with talking to people, building relationships, having a calendar, remembering people's birthdays and anniversaries, and that ethos, I think, helped me really well in this new world of digital and social, where the same tactics apply. I mean, I have a lot of followers, 500,000, but I also have a lot of great relationships online both, real meaningful ones, but also people I've never met, never spoken with, interacted with, and still have a kind of interesting, meaningful connection with. And so what I encourage, people to do is think about building not just an audience of people, viewers, maybe watching a video like this or reading your blog or your content, but your own community and nurturing those relationships. And so that's what I've done really well, and I'd encourage folks to do, no matter what their profession or industry or interest in digital and online business or online marketing.
Yes, you definitely cannot take that network for granted. And it's truly a gold for particularly somebody in business for themselves. But as you said, even for somebody who's working for another company, your network is how you can hear about other jobs. You can create your own personal brand. You can be giving to other people. And in return, they often will give back to you. Plus, it enriches your whole life and your world, and it's how you learn things and stay on top of things. So I really love that emphasis on relationships and networking, and the fact that that's a special skill of people typically 50 and older. Evan, what did you find were some of the challenges as you built your business?
Well, you get used to accustomed to a certain standard of life when you reach mid-career or a mid-level position in a company. You get a lot of perks, a lot of benefits, salary expectations, and you get lulled into a sense of security working for a company, and that's great. And that's great for most people, for many people who have great careers. But there can be downsides to being lulled into that false sense of security, given the mergers, the acquisitions, the dynamic changes in the economy, the layoffs, the downsizings, and I felt I wanted to be more prepared to really weather whatever storm I faced after a couple of layoffs. I didn't want to just find another job or look for a greener pasture on the other side of the fence. I wanted to take more ownership of my career, actually own clients, have clients, and to diversify, kind of my experience so that I wasn't relying on my employer for all of my security and sense of, sort of satisfaction professionally. And so that was a big driver for me to take the leap and start a side hustle, which led to a pretty thriving business.
You mentioned, Evan, about the importance of relationships and helping you build your business. Are there some other skills? I know, for example, you're very tech savvy. Has that helped you build your business?
Yeah, I've worked in the tech industry prior to leaving 25 years, so I built up certain knowledge and insight and experience and understanding of the industry, and that allowed me to talk with clients, potential clients, in a very credible way. But everyone has some expertise, at least most people do in their professional sense, and that expertise is valuable whether you know how to attach a price to it or not. And so my expertise happened to be in tech and even digital to a large degree, but everyone has unique expertise, and so it's a matter of identifying that unique expertise, putting together kind of your elevator pitch, your value proposition, and taking it out there, taking action, prospecting, getting meetings with potential clients, and finding someone who's willing to write a check to you based on your expertise. And that's what I managed to do. And it started off pretty small, but basically over 7 years, kind of doubled every year. And I'd encourage everyone, no matter what your expertise, whether it's accounting or bookkeeping or personal training, to recognize that you have the opportunity to not just work for an employer, but to work for 10 clients with that same expertise, and to perhaps even double, in my case, like 5, 10x the income I was making with that one employer. So it's a pretty radical change for a lot of people. Most people aren't comfortable making that change. It sometimes helps when there's disruption or layoff or something like a pandemic to force your hand, sadly. But in retrospect, it was the best decision I ever made.
Did you find that you needed to draw on certain internal emotion skills to be able to do this? Because I'm sure you had some upsets along the way. And what allowed you to continue and grow the way you have?
I've always worked in sales, so I've always been comfortable prospecting, talking to new people, pitching something. In this case, I'm pitching myself. And that was a huge bonus for me. And I'd suggest to all business owners, small business owners, solo practitioners, professionals who want to strike out, if you don't have that sales mindset rather, you have to work on developing it, because there's no one out there to help you market yourself or sell yourself except you. So I was comfortable doing that, and that was really the key to my success, was getting those clients, building a personal kind of pipeline. And there are tremendous resources. I mean, the beauty of this internet is not just promoting ourselves and chatting like we're doing through this video, but all the resources are there. You can teach yourself virtually any, technology, platform, app, service through YouTube these days. It really is a phenomenal opportunity to learn, educate, and grow. And so a lot of what I had to do was around, expanding my knowledge base in certain areas, understanding a little bit about bookkeeping and accounting that I'd never done, understanding how to find a contractor. I mean, there were a lot of skills I had to pick up, but the beauty of the internet is that this resource is there for the taking.
I just want to share a few. We're getting some questions, and I
saw that.
maybe,
that's great. I see Barbara,
yeah.
And I see Julia and Bob. Great folks out there.
Yes. Thank you, guys, for your questions. And Julia Labaton had a question that asked, and it's a great one, how you stayed on top of digital media and new social platforms like TikTok, for example. And I know you're also active on Clubhouse.
Yeah, it really is a matter of proverbially rolling up your sleeves and trying things and being active and being a practitioner, not just reading about something or reading how-to guides, but actually, getting hands-on with this stuff. And the more you become a practitioner, the more you become comfortable with these tools and comfortable with the medium, and then can develop and grow as a skilled practitioner of that platform. So I've tried TikTok. My dancing is terrible. I wouldn't recommend anyone watch my TikTok videos. But in all seriousness, if you don't know how Instagram Reels work, or moderating a Clubhouse room, it's very tough just to read a how-to on these platforms. You have to kind of try it, make mistakes, and through trial and error, develop your proficiency. It's like any tool. You need to use it to develop your craft.
That's really excellent advice, because just reading about it, you don't really know the ins and outs.
Yeah, and we had a little bit of a glitch here with LinkedIn Live in the beginning, and we were trying to figure out, are we connected or not?
Yeah.
After you do about 20 LinkedIn Lives, you begin to understand how this platform works, the bugs, the features, the tools, and you become a skilled practitioner when it comes to video conferencing. And it's same for Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and Clubhouse. You really need to dive right in, make a ton of mistakes, make a really ton of bad videos, write a few bad blogs until you sharpen your saw, so to speak, and get better.
Yes, that's so important that you can't be afraid of making mistakes. That's the only way you learn. Some of us tend to be so perfectionistic that we're afraid of doing something if we won't look good, we won't sound good. But you just, as you're saying, Evan, have to plunge in. And doing this show is actually a plunge for me because for years I've been afraid of video, but I finally just said I'm going to dive in, and here I am. And it's
Oh, no,
not
it's
so.
great. You look fabulous. And the same for audio. A lot of people aren't comfortable speaking extemporaneously live or even on recorded video. Maybe they don't like how they sound. And the perception people have of you is completely different than the notion or the perception you have of yourself. So, I mean, you really have to step outside that comfort zone, make some mistakes. My favorite mistake on Clubhouse, I was in a room with, gosh, must have been 1,000 people. There was 𝐁𝐨𝐶 𝐓𝐡𝐮𝐫, the former CTO of T-Mobile on the stage. There were a lot of big names. And I forgot to mute myself. And I walk in the bathroom, start washing my hands. I turn the
Oh.
fan on, and everyone instantly started laughing in hilarity. And knew they could tell I was in the bathroom. And it was hugely embarrassing. And I was a good sport. I turned a bright shade of red. But I learned how to mute and unmute myself on Clubhouse and how to adjust the audio settings. I'm not going to make that mistake again. So, it's all good as far as learning and experience goes.
Yes, yeah, no, that's a great story. I want to just share another question with you from Bob Wertz. He wanted to see if you could be specific about how you monetize a new career.
It comes down to you've got to find someone who's willing to write you a check. And that sounds silly. It sounds sort of trivial. But until you find a client or organization or an individual that sees enough value in what you're doing that they're willing to write a check that you can cash in your bank, it's going to be very hard. So I have about 12, 15 different clients who recognize the value, and that check comes in the form of one-off events. It comes in the form of maybe blogs or campaigns that I do with them. Maybe they cover my expenses to cover their event or interview their executives. Others have me on retainer where I'm sort of helping them on a month-by-month basis. But you have to articulate enough value that a customer is actually willing to write you a check. And that payment for services might be small to start. I mean, when I was starting helping clients with social media, I think I was charging a few $100 for help with a particular project, and that allowed me to build my credibility, build a reference with that particular client, think about my services in a more intelligent way, and then learn how to communicate. And so I would say start really small, no matter what the monetary value, and then iterate and grow your practice, your proposition, maybe your marketing collateral, maybe your website, maybe your skill at communicating what you do over time. But start small and grow. But it has to be getting that client to write a check. And at the end of the day, that's what business is about, and delivering enough value so that hopefully the next month or the next quarter, the client comes back and writes another slightly larger check. So it seems simple, but in reality, most businesses fail because they don't have that consistent clientele who are willing to engage with their services.
Yes, and that starting small is so important because if you price your services too high, you're just going to be out there. No one may hire you because you're doing something new. And as you were saying, you don't have referenceable customers. So by starting small, I know when I started my business, this latest business of mine, what I did is I did some coaching services. It was an hour basically for free, so I could get some testimonials from people.
Wonderful. Great idea.
Yeah. And plus, it makes you realize, hey, I like what I'm doing. I enjoy it. This is something I want to do. Let me.
It's a great sense of validation when you talk to a customer or an individual about their problems. You find additional ways you might help them. And so you can
Exactly.
grow your services based on real customer feedback, not some notion of what, a customer might or might not need.
Yes, that's very true. And you also get to see some of your strengths in action. You think, oh, I'm good at this, but as you're helping someone, it really showcases what you can do.
I love
So
that.
it's,
It's also kind of documenting your journey. I mean, if you're at an event showing yourself, as I do, helping a customer, live blogging their event, it shows to other potential customers, hey, this person is out there helping XYZ. Maybe they can help me. So important in coaching where, there's a bunch of coaches, but it's more, can that coach help me? Or what is that trainer? Or what is that social media specialist? What can they do for me and my business or my challenge? And you have to focus and deliver value enough that customer becomes a case study or a reference or an example of your work.
yes, exactly. And that's one customer. In a sense, it becomes a virtuous cycle because you get one good customer and then you get great word of mouth, they refer somebody else, and your business is off and running. Let me share with you another question that we had from Barbara Hannon. She wanted to said that you seem to have a universal grasp of so many different new technologies. How do you go about staying in front of all the change?
Well, I mentioned this amazing resource called the internet that allows you to consume, information at scale all the time at no cost. So, there's just so much great information. And if you're a audio minded person like I am, I consume audiobooks and podcasts, for multiple hours a day. If you enjoy video, there's just tremendous video content. I mean, educational content, not just the latest Netflix drama, but real educational content and documentaries and interviews. And if you're, obviously, if you're a reader, there's just even more resources out there. So really filling your mind with really educational, relevant content. And then, what I do is when I consume content, I share my thoughts on it. I tweet or I post on LinkedIn about what I read, adding my color commentary or perspective. So you can be a kind of consumer as well as a creator or a commentator almost at the same time. So that's sort of a virtuous circle that works for me.
I love that, Evan. It also helps reinforce what you're learning by writing about it. So
Yeah, and
that, yeah,
I think interviewing your clients too. I mean, like you're doing now, you're hopefully learning a few things, and I do that on my podcast. We have amazing guests. I spent an hour with the CTO of T-Mobile the other week, and I learned more listening, focusing intently for an hour podcast than I had, reading any number of trade journals or magazines about T-Mobile. So you can really learn through your clients, learn through guests, that you might have on your podcast or event, and really that sort of human to human learning is, I find, whether it's on Clubhouse or in video here, really the best way to absorb and retain really interesting information.
yes, that is very true. And I like to write, and I find when I interview somebody for an article, that becomes a great way of educating myself also, and helps
Brilliant.
you stay sharp and keep on top of trends. We have another question, Evan, from Daniel Glucksman. Wanted to know the best or your favorite site for identifying trends.
Well, it's probably no surprise. I find Twitter is really just an amazing water cooler of trends and literally trending topics, but also Twitter search is just a phenomenal destination. And Twitter has its own sort of built-in search engine, and you can enter keywords or hashtags or complete sentences, and you can tap into stories and conversations and individuals on certain topics. And I always turn to Twitter for real time, not just news, but insights and information. And there's something called Smart News, which is a really compelling app I use on my smartphone that sort of aggregates the best news and information and media sources into a single app and uses AI to present information to you based on the things that you're interested in, much like Google, does in its news service. So, smart use of tools, and then social media for searching trending and high engaged topics.
I'm going to have to check out Smart News. I use Feedly. I don't know if you've used that at all, Evan.
Yeah, Feedly's great. I think what Smart News gives you is that AI engine. So it knows I read 10 stories about 5G. Tomorrow it's going to present me the next interesting stories about 5G. So I think these apps are getting more intelligent, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, well, great. I will definitely check that out. I think we had another question. Let me see. No, somebody was just delighted with all the insights that you're sharing.
Thanks. And I'm really passionate about these topics and what you're doing with, focusing on a community of folks over 50. I sent a lot of age discrimination. I think we tweeted back and forth on this topic. And I think it's such a shame. And I personally have felt it, as a career in sales. Once you get over 40, in your 40s and 50s and older, you're competing against a bunch of young 20-somethings for those sales jobs in tech. And the tech industry is not kind to older adults. It's just a very sad fact of life. So it's a warning sign. And I think there needs to be a lot more done on age discrimination, in addition to all the other forms of discrimination that exist in, corporate life and beyond.
Yes, I'm extremely determined to make age discrimination a cause of mine, because it's just so harmful and it's pernicious. And what's that famous quote from Mark Zuckerberg where he had the nerve to say that young people are smarter, just smarter. Well, wait till he gets a little bit older. He might hopefully change his tune. The other thing, I saw a statistic recently, I think it's 2/3 of people 46 to 75 have experienced some type of age discrimination. It's probably even higher. Sometimes those surveys are not.
And it's heavily skewed towards women and minorities. So it's almost like this double whammy of discrimination. And it seems accepted. I mean, it's not that hot a topic generally. And I think it will be, as you rightly point out, as we live longer, healthier lives. It's something that needs to be addressed.
Yes, definitely. And hopefully companies will start becoming a little more cognizant of the benefits of hiring older workers. And studies have shown that older workers have more emotional intelligence. As you indicated, they're excellent in relationship building. So there's so many strengths, plus a workplace that's diverse with multi-generations is a more productive workplace, and studies have demonstrated that.
Yeah, it's so funny on social media. I have all these amazing clients, and when I look at who runs their social media handles, it's mostly like a 23-year-old or 24-year-old. And it's such a short-sighted thing to do, is to think, okay, yeah, social media and digital, that's a millennial thing. We'll just give it to the younger kids. When really a lot of the insight and the analysis and the context and the experience and understanding comes from older folks who've been around this industry for some time. The challenge is a lot of those folks aren't yet comfortable enough in digital platforms. And so they get, they're given a backseat pass. And so I'd encourage everyone, really up your game, because there's nothing on social that you can't do that, a 22-year-old can do, except for dancing. Maybe dancing, they have a slight edge in athletic and aerobic ability, but otherwise, we have an advantage.
Oh, I love that. I think we're nearing to the close. Does anyone else have any other questions? Well, I'll be posting a replay of this, so you can catch that as well. And I'll be having another renewal at 50 plus with another terrific guest in mid-August, and I'll be posting about that and hope you can make it. Evan, I just want to thank you so much. Is there anything before we close that you want to summarize, anything you said, or add another point?
Well, I just say, let's continue the discussion. Let's have a Twitter Spaces audio room or a Clubhouse room on this topic. There are a lot of 50 plus folks out there who are looking to reinvent and renew and engage, and are kind of being left out on some of these platforms. So I think we'd have a tremendous audience and a lot of engagement on this and related topics. So look forward to that.
I love that, Evan, and I'm up to the task, so I'm going to do that and recruit you to help.
I will be there. Absolutely.
Okay, awesome.
All right, Wendy. Take care.
Thanks, everybody. Bye now.